Welcome to the Joy Workshow, the podcast that goes beyond the surface of business, right to the heart, to explore the real joy and the stories behind success. Not just the moments of celebration, but the challenges that pave the way for them. Hi, I'm Diane, your host. And on this podcast, we know that joy isn't just about the good times. Often the greatest joy comes right after the greatest challenge. Each week, we invite business owners to share their journey through our unique show and tell. They will reveal something they love that transformed their work or their life, a book or a person that shaped their path, and something they think the world could do without. A joy killer, you may say. Together, we will explore how joy shows up in unexpected places. So if you're ready to discover the joy, let's go. This week, I'm thrilled to introduce you to Catherine Wasley, a holistic infant sleep coach who's transforming the way parents approach one of life's biggest challenges, getting a good night's sleep. I personally, as a parent of two under three and a half, then I know how important a good night's sleep is. And I have had my own struggles with my children's sleep. Catherine gave me 2 bits of advice a few months ago to help me. It was actually with my children's behaviour, and she gave me 2 bits of advice that I immediately tried within 24 hours. And within that 24 hours, it had transformed the relationship between myself and my toddler. I felt better, my toddler felt better, and it's ways of communicating with them that I continue to use today. Catherine's story is one of resilience, reinvention, and a deep commitment to helping families thrive. From her early days as a clinician to becoming a childminder and ultimately stepping into her role as a holistic sleep coach, Catherine's journey is as inspiring as it is insightful. We dive into how the pandemic reshaped her career, why she believes in a holistic approach to sleep, which I absolutely love because she looks after the parent as much as she looks after the child, and how mindset plays such a crucial role in parenting. Whether you're a parent, an entrepreneur, or simply navigating big life changes, Catherine's perspective is a breath of fresh air. But as always, I like them to tell you in their words. So let's get started. Hi, Catherine, and welcome to the Joy Workshow. I am so pleased that you are here with me today. How are you?
I'm very well, thank you. And thank you so much for inviting me on. It's a complete pleasure. Thank you.
Oh, you're so welcome. The pleasure really is all mine. So we've been in each other's worlds for a wee while. I know you quite well. You're part of the Joy Work Members Club. But for everybody out there and for those that do not know you, let us know who you are, what you do, and how you got here.
Oh, thank you. So, as you said, I'm Catherine. So I'm Catherine Wasley, also known as the Parent Drop, and I am a holistic infant sleep coach. So when I say holistic, people think, oh, that sounds a bit wacky. So all holistic means is looking at the whole picture. So we're not looking just at the sleep, we're looking at the whole picture. Now, how did I come to be? How did I come to be here? So if we go back like 30 odd years, my first career was an orthoptist, and then I had a baby. She went to childminder, and then I had another baby, and there was no childminders. So I was a bit stuck for childcare. So my immediate thought was, I know what, I'll be a childminder. I will look after my own children as a temporary measure. But in fact, I ended up loving it. And so I childminded for 10 years, had 2 more children added to the mix. And then I wanted another challenge. So I thought, what in life always happens that people always will keep on doing? Okay, we keep having babies. And also people tend to get married at some point generally. So I thought weddings. So I then combined my love of childcare with weddings, and I started up an event childcare business. So creches, nannying. Did that for 10 years and loved it. A bit of a blip with old COVID thrown into the mix.
I love that idea though. I love the idea because so often, and I know with friends' weddings, it's always that conundrum of Do we invite children? Do we not invite children if they have their own children? Because ultimately you want it to be a celebration. And let's face it, children aren't always the easiest and they don't just do what you need them to do at any given time. So I love that idea. How entrepreneurial was that to think of doing creches at weddings? That's brilliant.
I think it probably stemmed back to the fact that we had been to many weddings with our children and as they grew in number. And I remember just, going to a wedding, and I think for me, the worst part of the wedding was the ceremony was kind of okay. We kind of got through that. But it was the time after ceremony, waiting to the wedding breakfast. It seems gone for like hours, isn't it? And weddings are never, the timing of food at weddings is never, ever when your child needs to eat. So we always ended up with either hungry children or we would just be giving them all these sort of snacks and rubbishy stuff. And it was just like I found it very fraught, really. And you couldn't talk to anybody. There's always one of us chasing after the kids. And so I just thought, how would you go to a wedding and your children were there, but you could literally just sit back, have a glass of fizz, talk to, Aunt Matilda or whoever it is, and actually enjoy the day. And your kids are having fun. They're not just stuck in a room with a bored teenager and a DVD. That was, I've been weddings like that. And I thought, I want more than that. And I really wanted the kind of that sort of nurturing, caring side of a home environment, childcare, and somehow transport that into a wedding setting. Whereas I knew a bit about the children if I turned up. So I knew what they enjoyed. I knew their interests. I'd bring toys and activities linked to their interests. So children were much more willing and to come and settle with me. But at the end of the day, I was a complete stranger to them and I met them before. And so I think that was my kind of my unique selling point. It's about I actually made contact with parents beforehand. I found out about their children and the parents then felt more relaxed with me, because obviously leaving your children with a stranger is, it's not the sort of thing we tend to do, is it? So by having those links beforehand and that communication really, really helped me. So I did that for 10 years.
That's amazing. That's absolutely amazing. Anyway, I interrupted you telling you how that then COVID hit.
Yeah, so COVID came along, and of course because I always thought weddings was a bulletproof industry to be in. People always getting married, there's always celebrations, always christenings. And of course, COVID came along and just proved how wrong I was, that actually, no, so I literally had no work at all, completely dried up. So I just very happily settled into homeschooling my cherubs, much to their disgust. But anyway, so I just did that throughout the first lockdown. And then I just thought, I've got to do something here. So I then became a TA for a couple of years. And I actually quite enjoyed that. But then I got really itchy feet again and thought, I need to be self-employed. I'm not very good at being employed. And I then did weddings. But then I thought, what else can I do? And sleep is such a big thing, isn't it? Throughout our whole lives, especially if you have children, and sleep always kept coming along. So I decided to do it properly and do this holistic sleep coaching course. Did that last year. And it's kind of at a degree level. So it really taxed my brain cells. But I learned so much. I thought I knew sleep, having had 4 children and worked with children for 30 years. But it turned out I knew very little about sleep. And it was a complete eye-opener. It completely flipped on my head what I believed about sleep in a fantastic way. So I'm now a sleep geek. My children just here she goes again. I love that. And so I am a complete sleep geek, and I have to say, I do enjoy. I do a little bit of nannying, not much now. I love nannying, but I have to say, I truly believe that what I'm doing now is the thing I've enjoyed the most. I never, very, very rarely get a day thinking, I've got to go and do some sleep stuff. I just love it. I absolutely love it.
Well, the thing is, sleep is such a polarizing topic, particularly when it comes to babies, because, as you know, I have 2 little ones myself. I have 2, 3 and under at the moment. And my first slept beautifully from 3 months, she slept pretty much 12 hours a night, give or take, poorly, teething, but they were the odd nights. And as a parent, you expect those odd nights. So I thought I was a bit of a sleep guru. I thought I'd done it. I thought I'd cracked this. And then my seconds came along, and yeah, she's kept me humble, let's say. She's kept me humble and reminded me that I do not know anything about children's sleep, and they're all completely different, and we have to approach it in completely different ways. And sleep is super important for everybody. And I love when we've had conversations, and sometimes for you, it's like the mindset or the way we're looking at things, or the way we approach the sleep is as important as actually getting the child to sleep. And I really, really love that. So when you talk about holistic sleep, what do you mean? Are we sleep training? What is the meaning of the holistic?
So the holistic approach is basically looking at the whole picture. So sleep training doesn't come into it at all. I'm not anti-sleep training. I just want parents to be given all the information and they then choose the best route for them. So when it comes to sleep, I think parents quite often feel they only have like two options. Either A, they have to just suck it up, wait it out. Because if we do wait it out, eventually our children will sleep through. But obviously that can take years with some children if we do absolutely nothing. And other parents then feel any other option is to sleep train, which is like, the controlled crying or maybe cry it out. But with holistic approach is actually saying, look, there's actually a middle ground, guys. There's something in the middle here that we can do here. We can obviously accept certain aspects of sleep. However, if things are just not sustainable, then of course we can make gentle changes. And when you look at what is sustainable for one family and another family, it's completely different. Because one family might have a fantastic sort of support around them. They've got grandma down the road. They've got cousins that pop in. They've got aunts. They've got everyone who can come in and help them. And you might find that the parent is at home an awful lot. Other parent may work part-time. They have loads of support around them. But you've got another family who may live in not such a nice accommodation, may have mental health issues, they have literally no support whatsoever. And the baby is sleeping very similar, but for this family, they are in crisis points. They literally at the point they can't really cope. So when we do holistic, we actually are looking at all of that as well, because that really comes into how you work with a family. And it's looking at the whole day of a little one. So it's I say to people when I work with them, I say to them, I'm going to look at your day first. I'm going to look at your night. And they think, what are you talking about? It's the night we're struggling with. And I explain to them, well, it's really important to look at your daytime. We look at the diet. We look at the times of food. We look at the time you wake up in the morning. We look at the amount of exercise you're getting. So many things come into play. And actually, if you can make those tweaks to the daytime, quite often nighttime, well, I'm not saying it resolves itself, but it gets an awful lot better. And when you work with a family where things are just dire, it's no point jumping straight in and saying, right, come on, we need to fix the sleep. It's like, okay, what are your goals? What are your expectations? And as you were saying, that I always talk to parents about, mentally, what is it you want from this? Okay, is that realistic? So if you've got a 4-month-old, are they going to sleep through the night? No, that's not realistic. However, we can manage the number of wake-ups. So we can make it better. And I think you and I've talked before about, and you've told me how you have those little mantras in your head when your little one is appearing to be difficult. And it's a case of just saying to yourself, okay, they're not being difficult to annoy me. They're being this way because they're having a tricky time. Because they're having a tricky time, I'm not having a tricky time. So I just have to kind of like absorb this and go, right, it's not going to be forever. We're going to get through tonight, and then the morning will come. And at the moment, they need me, and I'm here with them, and that's all we need. I think you do find that quite helpful. You've told me before how you kind of...
I find that super helpful. I need to come back into the present. I need to, instead of, particularly because I still have a tricky sleeper who is 2, and I launched my business when she was about to turn 1. So we're a year into me having a business. If it was another parent, it'd be a year into them going back to work. And we still have tricky nights. So I don't want to be, I know that when I am exasperated, when I am stressed, when I'm feeling that anxiety at whatever time of night, and sometimes it can be 10 o'clock at night that they've woke up, or midnight. We're not necessarily talking about your 3 or 4s in the mornings, but I'm thinking about, I should be working, or I've got this to do tomorrow, I'm going to be tired. And instead of, I need something to bring me back and remind me that ultimately my job as mum is my most important job, and I positioned my life for that and positioned my business for that. So this is where I need to be right now, just at this moment, not all day tomorrow, not all week, just at this moment. And right now, my baby needs me. And when I remind myself of that the baby's just having a nightmare, a pain, a discomfort, you're like, they just need me. When I wake up in the night with a pain, I'm not that nice to be around either. So I just need something to bring me back into that present. And we've spoke about that, and that really does help me. But what I hear from what you're saying and the way that you work with your families is that you want them to feel supported. And I think that's really, really important. I think people want like tricks, tips, hacks that suddenly are going to fix the problems they have. And that's true about life. That's true about business. That's true about starting a business. That's true about sleep. That's true about children's behaviour. It's true about everything. But ultimately, when we're in a supported position, we perform better. So therefore, we're able to be better parents because we're in that supported position. And my friends who have all got young children ages with me think I'm a little bit mad because I love the newborn stage. I could sit in that newborn stage forever. And it wasn't until I had the second baby that I realised why. Because I have a mum who comes and supports me. She pretty much moves in. Now, that might be some people's nightmare, especially for like mother-in-law type situation, but she does it in such a beautiful way that all I need to do is look after the baby. The house is looked after, we're fed, she's just there. She sits and has a cup of tea with me. She makes sure I go to my bed at the right time. She helps me get the baby into that routine, which was really, I know that's not important to everybody, but it was really important for me that I get into a routine. And then I realised it was because I felt supported. The difference between me and some people that I know is that they didn't have that support. So they were looking after a baby, up all night with a newborn, running the house. Maybe they had another child, doing all of the things, and they didn't have that support. And when I've spoke to you in the past and speaking to you today, what I hear is that you are there to be that support for people who don't have it, to be that guiding voice, to be that calm, to just be the person that's like, I get it, let's try a few things.
Absolutely. And I think I was talking to a parent last night, actually, and I was saying to her how I see my role is obviously as a guide. And I don't ever want to be in the position when I'm telling someone what to do. Obviously, I am an expert in sleep, but they are the expert on their baby or toddler. So I kind of, the other day I was thinking about it, and I kind of see myself a bit like, when you have like a rally driver, you have like the navigator. I kind of see myself a bit like as that co-pilot navigator. So I'm there, giving you advice, saying, oh, we need to go this way now. But you're in the driving seat. And you could actually say, well, no, actually, I don't want to go that way. I want to go this way. And I'd be like, okay, we'll try this way then. And with the family talking about last night, we were sort of tweaking the naps and doing that, trying to get him to be more regulated during the daytime. And the mum just said to me, she just came out with, I think he just needs more sleep. I just think he's that way. He's all a bit wired. because he's not getting enough sleep. When he gets a really good nap, he's so much happier. I said, right, okay, well, let's do that then. Let's really optimize his daytime sleep. Let's go completely crazy. Let him just sleep, because he's like 4 or 5 months old. Let him just sleep as much as he can during the daytime, and let's just see what happens the nighttime, shall we? And she's like, oh. And I said, well, the worst is going to happen, but a bit more in the night. But at least we'll know. And she's like, yeah, do you know what? Yeah, let's do that. So it's kind of saying to her, look, your instinct is telling you this. Let's go with that. Let's go with that
But it's
instinct.
making her feel in control and work on some beliefs and some experience and work with you, but feel supported through it, so that she knows that she can come back tomorrow and say, oh, that was completely wrong. You know, the baby didn't sleep at all that night. I think he's had too much daytime sleep. And you just tweak and you tweak and you tweak. Because like I say, I think people want this overnight fix, and there's not an overnight fix for anything.
No, there's
You
not.
know?
And I say to people that because someone was asking me about working as a sleep coach, and I said, just do your research. If someone's out there saying to you, I guarantee your baby will be sleeping 12 hours within 3 days of working with me, I said to them, just run for the hills, because number one, no one can guarantee that, anybody.
Yeah.
And secondly, there's going to be obviously some form of controlled crying. And if you don't want that, if you're looking for a truly gentle approach, then it takes weeks. I mean, normally after a week or so, generally speaking, we will start seeing a little bit of improvement. And after 2 weeks, you start thinking, hey, hold on a minute, we're really getting somewhere here now. But I would say for the majority of cases, it's 3-4 weeks. And as you were saying, a lot of people do, which I completely understand. I've been there myself, 4 times over. You do just want someone to come along and go, here you go, just do this, and you're going to get 10, 11 hours uninterrupted sleep. I mean, who wouldn't grab that with both hands? I mean, because you're complete loon. So it's really important that that people do understand that these things take time. These things take time, and there is no quick fix. I don't think there's a quick fix for anything in life, really. Not a quick fix that's going to last and be sustainable. I have worked with families who have done sleep training previously, and things did appear to be, oh, that's fixed. But sleep's never fixed, is it? And then they come to me and say, well, we did this, but we're almost worse off now, like 6 months on. It's all kind of really unraveling now. And it's like, well, we need to do sustainable changes that are actually going to be there, stick there. And when things do start unraveling a little bit, you then know you've got the tools and the strategies to get things back on track. I think that's really, really important, that parents really feel they have the power to get things back to where they want it to be.
If there was one thing that you could say, if somebody's listening to this and they have been up all night with their newborn, with their 1-year-old, with their 3-year-old, whatever it may be, we all go through different stages with our children. And if there's one thing that you could tell them to just help their mindset, focus them around the sleep and what they could or should be doing, what would you say?
Okay, I'll probably have to say 2 things here.
Okay.
Number one, I would talk about, I think it's really important to talk about the temperament of your little one. As we know, there are easygoing babies and there are not so easygoing babies. And that's just the way they are. That's their character. It's got nothing to do whatsoever with your parenting. I think lots of parents who do have these super sensitive souls seem to blame themselves. And then people say to them, oh, you're holding your baby too much. That's why you're making them clingy. I hate that word, clingy. Because the way you are with them, it's not true at all. It's just that's the way they are. So I think look at your baby and you will know your baby and think, hang on a minute, I think they're quite a sensitive little soul, therefore sleep is going to be trickier. So it's kind of working with that temperament and finding ways that kind of calm them. Now, calm is my second part of this. It's so important when we think about sleep. For us to fall asleep, anybody to fall asleep, we have to feel safe and secure and be calm. So it's our parasympathetic, that's better. Parasympathetic nerve. Oh my gosh, put my teeth in this morning. Parasympathetic nervous system, our rest and digest. that needs to be in that state for her to fall asleep, because sleep is a vulnerable state. So we need to be like that. So if our children are kind of wired, or if we're wired, if we've had like a really crazy day at work, or we've had an argument with our partner earlier in the day, and we're still a bit, when we go to bed, we don't go, oh, fall straight to sleep. We don't. And it's the same with our little ones. And as you and I have talked about before, babies cannot self-soothe. It's just biologically impossible. The prefrontal cortex needs to be mature for that. It doesn't happen until your mid-20s. That's why toddlers, teenagers are all a bit over the place with their emotions. So babies look to us to calm them down. So the most important thing you can do is take your focus off the sleep and focus on the calm. So to do that, obviously a calm environment helps, but we, the carer, need to think about our own calm. So my advice to do that is, number one, stop what you're doing. Whatever you're doing, you can't do any more than you're doing, so just stop. Then take a deep breath. Slow down your breathing. Slow down your actions. And slow down your words. And almost like lower the tone of your voice as well, so you're more gentle speaking. And you'll find by doing that, you're calming yourself down by doing those things. And also it's something to think about. You think, right, okay, slow down, breathe, lower my voice, speak gently. And it's amazing that you have a baby that's completely like wired. If you just do that, it might take obviously a little while, but just keep breathing, leaning into them, and they will come down. It might take a little bit of time, but they will come down. And just think to yourself, they will fall asleep. Sleep will come. No one has stayed awake forever. They will go to sleep. And just then, once they're asleep, take some time to think about what you've been through and think, I did it. That step, I did it. And then just reset yourself. And then when it comes down to the next sleep, just go again.
I love that. I could literally talk to you about sleep, particularly children's sleep, for hours. I really could, because it just fascinates me, and particularly having my two little sleep thieves that I've got at the minute. But this is the Joy Workshow. And as you know, there is questions that I ask you about Joy to prepare before you come on here. And you've really generously shared them with me. So I'd really like to move on to them today and find out a little bit more about you and Joy and work and your business and kind of everything in between. So the first thing we like to talk about is the Joy Spotlight. So this is a favourite thing that has shaped your life, your business, or your work. And your Joy Spotlight is, quite frankly, one of my nightmares. I wish I loved it. I watched people do it and I think they look amazing and I wish I could do it. It's just not my bag. So what is your Joy Spotlight? What is the thing that has, and I think it's shaped your life, this one. So what is the thing that shaped your life?
Okay, so if we go back about 7 years, and I was nannying at the time, and I was nannying locally, and I had a key to their house. So I got there quite early in the morning, so I let myself in. So I was on my way to their house, walking along, and I almost got to their house, and I thought, damn, I've forgotten their key. And I wasn't actually running late, but I knew that I had to get back pretty sharpish to my house to get the key, to get back to their house, because I don't like being late for things. So I literally just kind of jogged back home, and we're talking like a couple of 100 yards, if that. And I was absolutely floored. I was so knackered. I was like, oh my gosh, I'm absolutely exhausted from doing that. And I thought I was a pretty fit person. I had 4 children. I was nannying, always on the go. And I was going to be 50 the following year. And I thought to myself, oh my gosh, that's really great. So I did. I thought, I've got to do something. I hate gyms. Can't do gym. Don't like swimming. And I thought, oh, I know what. I'll do Couch to 5K. I'm not going to tell anybody, because I swore to people before that, if they ever saw me running, they would know there's a big line after me, because I would never, ever run. So I did it kind of secretly. I would like go out at really odd times, and a pair of like really rubbishy Asda trainers that really hurt my feet. and a really horrible big baggy t-shirt and a pair of like really scaggy leggings. And I did it. And the second one I did, I was like, oh my God, it hurt my calf. And anyway, one thing I am though, I am determined and I'm stubborn. So I saw it through. I did the whole like 9-week program. And at the end of it, I went and did a park run with my friend. And I completely busted gut doing this 5K. And I was determined to do it under 30 minutes. I just did under 30 minutes. I almost threw up. You know, it was just a real mess. I did it. And then I thought, well, what next? And then that was it. So I've been running pretty much, you know, obviously not every day, but I've been running.
You didn't start
fairly
running
consistently.
until you were 49.
49, yeah.
Wow.
So there's
And
hopefully
now
yet,
it's
Diane.
like part of your life.
It's part of my life. And I, like during the lockdowns, whatever, I could go out for my run. And I very, very luckily, well, probably you would think this is very lucky, but I got a place in the London Marathon ballot. And I should have run it in 2020, but of course we all know what
Happened. Yep.
So I eventually ran it in 2023. And because of the ballot place, I didn't have to do sponsorship, but I did. I did it for Mountain Rescue. That's a story for another time. I did it for Mountain Rescue. But yeah, so running is kind of like, I've actually been out this morning for my run. I mean, I have weeks I'm like, oh, do you know what? I don't really fancy doing this. And I might have the odd week I don't run. But I always know that if I can get out on that run, once I get past the grumbling to myself and the cursing myself, I do get in my stride and I do enjoy it. And especially on days like today, it's been glorious sunshine. It's not very often I finish a run and think, oh, I wish I hadn't done that. So
Well,
it's
that's
my
the same with all exercise, isn't it? I think if you find your thing, then I think it's always that way. You never regret it. I've just never been able to get on board with the running. As I say, I watch people and I get quite jealous and I'm like, oh, that looks really freeing. But yeah, I just don't think it's my bag. And I need to really enjoy the exercise I'm going to do to maintain.
Absolutely. I quite agree. You've got to find something which you have to kind of find something that fits in. I think for me, it's fitted into my life. Because obviously when you've got children and you're running a business and blah, 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 and where we live, we're not close to a gym. I have to get in the car and drive to a gym. And so it was something I just thought I can literally just get up and think, oh, I want to go for a run like now. I didn't have to kind of like prepare myself. I think for me, if I had to go a lot of preparation, like get in the car, drive somewhere, buy a membership, it will all be these little barriers that I'd put up to not doing something. So, and now I just find it, my family accept I go for a run. So I just go and I quite often listen to a podcast. And so it's really important obviously for my exercise, but also just for my mental health. You know, if I'm having a bit of a tricky time, go out on that run. And quite often the answer comes to me on the run. So
has that been the biggest change you would say from doing the running, that it is the mental health side of it, the lifting the brain frog side of it, giving you, or is it that time, busy mum, busy business owner, just that time?
I think it's a combination of all those things, you know. I think it's one of those things that interesting enough, I don't feel guilty doing that. I would feel guilty if I sat down with a cup of tea on the sofa and I could see things around. Maybe because I can't see anything around me. I can't see the jobs that you're doing. I don't see my laptop. I can't see my email. I can't read my emails. I turn my notifications off. I don't get any notifications unless my teenage son texts me some random stuff. I'm literally in a world of my own. If that makes sense. So maybe, and I don't feel guilty about doing it. Maybe because I can justify it as like, oh, I'm going for my exercise, you know. But for me, it's something. It is like a non-negotiable in my life that I go out for a run 3-4 times a week.
And these non-negotiables are so important because we so often put ourselves at the bottom of the list. And ultimately, if we're not looking after ourselves, we can't look after others. You know, it's that put your oxygen mask on first, because ultimately you cannot look after somebody if you physically can't do it. And I think we as mums forget that really easily. And we look after everybody else, and the children need this, and my partner needs this, and this needs to happen today. And And then all of a sudden you're like, but I'm empty and I feel awful and I don't know how I'm going to get through the day. Whereas ultimately, if we did one thing that put ourselves first, we would be far better equipped. I know
Oh,
since I've been
absolutely.
working out in the mornings that I'm far better equipped. I am a better mum. I'm a better CEO of my business. I'm a better partner. I'm a better friend. I'm a better everything. I'm a better person because I had that half an hour in the morning. All it is that half an hour in the morning. And it takes planning and it takes logistics and it takes communication in the house. But it's not that difficult.
No, not at all. And that's one thing when we're talking to mums about their sleep of their babies or toddlers, we always chat about their self-care and their mental health, because if you can take time out for yourself or you've got the support of other people, then actually sometimes what you're experiencing sleep-wise, actually you think to yourself, actually, I can actually get through this the way things are because I know that I will get this time to myself every day. Or like when my partner walks in the door, I can hand the baby to my partner and I then know I have half an hour. And I think probably as mums, I'm so guilty of this. When I had my children little, I kind of felt I had to do all of it. Got to do all of it because I cannot, if I ask for help, it shows that I'm weak. I'm not fit to be a mum. And I truly believe that things have changed actually like that. I think we are talking much more openly about it. My eldest is going to be 25 next year. And people just didn't talk about the hardness of it all. People just accepted that's the way it is. You kind of get on with it, which to a certain degree, yes, you do have to get on with it. But equally, you are allowed to have a moan. You are allowed to grumble. You are allowed to do these things. And even if I go and moan to someone about how tired I am, I don't have to fix the sleep, but I'm allowed to grumble about it. Like I grumble about my husband, but I don't go and think I'll go and fix him. We are allowed to moan about things in life without feeling we have to go and fix it. And that could be part of your self-care. Just phoning up your friend and saying, oh my gosh, I had a terrible night.
Yeah, exactly. Because it's hard. Things are hard. Raising children is hard. But we can do hard things and we can, and we're allowed to moan and we're allowed to say it's hard and we're allowed to ask for help and we don't need to do it alone.
Absolutely.
I love that running is your joy. I absolutely love that running is your joy spotlight. I think we all need these tools in life. And as I've said for this, everything that I do around the Joy Work Club, the Joy Workshow, the Joy Work Members Club, joy isn't just balloons and unicorns and pink sprinkles. They're good too. But joy is what comes after the challenges. Joy is those little moments in the day that just make it a little bit easier. And joy is that self-care. Joy is so many things. And I love that running is your joy spotlight and the difference it has made for you. And I love that you didn't start it till you were 49, because so often we think when we get into our 40s that that's it. This is who we are. We've reached peak and nothing can change from here. When actually everything can change from here.
Absolutely.
And I think that's a really important message.
Absolutely. And I've still got goals in my business. I've also got goals in my running. And I see these inspirational women who are running in their 80s, who are running marathons at really, really amazing times. So I will never ever use age as an excuse. Because a friend of mine the other day, I said to her, oh my gosh, it's getting quite hard, my running. I think it's probably because I'm a menopause or because I'm just really tired. She said to me, have you thought about the fact you're getting a little bit older? I went, no. I've not thought about that at all. Age doesn't come into it.
No, I'm not scared of getting old. I'm scared of not being able to move. There's a difference.
Definitely.
Okay. So the next joy thing we'd like to talk about is that what has inspired us. So inspired by joy. So perhaps it's a mentor, a person, somebody in our lives, or even a book can even do it. And I know what yours is because I asked you to tell me before this. But I'm going to hand it over to you for you to tell the story of who inspired you in your life.
Okay, so we're going back to my childminding days. So when I became a childminder, I naively believed at the start of it all, like, oh, I know how to look after children. I've got 2 children of my own, and I've worked with children as a clinician. I understand children. And then I started childminding, and I was like, oh, hang on a minute. So I didn't quite know as much as I thought I knew about children. So I was so fortunate to have a childminder who lived locally, who took me under her wing. And she was a very experienced childminder. She'd worked with children for years and years. Her children were grown up, but she still had children coming to her house. Her name's Mary. And she still is just such a lovely, lovely soul. And she was just so kind and generous, like not with her knowledge, but just with her time as well. And she would come to my house once a week after school, bring her children and kids over as well. And I just saw her in action. And I could just see how she was with the children and how she truly acknowledged each child as being unique and having their own individual qualities. And, some children can be a bit tricky, but she would always see in that child, I'm not saying they're good points, but she would just see their uniqueness and what made them tick. And she had such a good way of talking with children that I was just there watching and just soaking it all up. So I think a lot of the way that I work goes back to how she was with the children. She just showed me how to be the best childminder that I could be, and not just so the children get the best out of me, but I would get the best out of the children, because it's like a two-way street. We work with children. And I just adore working with children. I just love chatting to the little ones, and I put so much down to Mary. So Mary is, to me, one of the greatest people in my life I've had over these decades. So I still think about her. I'm not in contact so much with her now, but I still think about her. And quite often I think to myself, like, what would Mary do? What would Mary say? How would Mary react to this situation? And that really helps me just to kind of ground myself and think, okay, what would Mary do?
Goodness, it sounds like we all need a Mary in our life. I think it's such a talent. And I think it is an innate talent. I don't think it's necessarily learned. And from speaking to you, I can see you have it as well. But the ability to speak to children. And you don't need to have that to be a good mum or be a good parent. But when you see certain people who work in looking after children in the caregiving industry, you can just see that some people they was just always what they were meant to do, because the children adore them, the way they talk to them, they make them seen as a person, because ultimately that's, child or not, that's what we all want. Often I know when one of mine is acting up around me is because I'm not quite paying attention the way I should be at that given time. Now, sometimes I can't give it 100% because I might be changing a nappy or doing something else. It's not always just about me not paying attention to them. And obviously there's learnings they need to have, but they just want time. They just want to be seen and heard, as we all do. And it's just lovely that there's people in the world that look after their children, because we wouldn't be doing these things if we never, and childcare is a minefield. And that's a whole nother podcast to talk about childcare and the state of the childcare at this current time. But the childcare that my children go to, I know the people that they run to. Like, I know how happy they are to see them, because there is those people that give them 100% and know them and understand them and get their personalities and get when they're being tricky, why they're being tricky, and don't make them feel like they're being tricky. And I love that you had that mentor of a person that stays with you now. And I love what would Mary do. That's just the best thing. I think it's really important we have those questions that we can ask ourselves throughout the day when we need to come back to ourselves. Just like we spoke about me talking to myself in the night when the child's up, you need to come back to yourself. And if you've got that person that you knew and you got to know inside and out and how she would make decisions, then it helps you too. And I love that. And I love that she's here and doing, and I hope Mary's doing well. That's what I hope. And I hope we all have a Mary for our children in our lives. So the last thing we talk about is joy killers. Those things in our lives that we could just do without. Now, if I just read out your first sentence, it's quite a big one. So I'm not going to do that because people might just switch off because they might be like, oh, I am part of that. So I'm just going to go away. So I'll let you a little bit explain about what you would send away that does not need to be part of this world. And as soon as it happens, it zaps the joy right out of you.
It's like room 101, isn't it? Like
completely like that, yeah.
So, yes, so I won't come out and say it straight away because we think like, oh gosh, how's she going to do that? So I think for me, when I know myself as a parent and also working with parents and families over the sort of like this last year with my sleep business, is that a lot of the things that parents say to me about their little one's sleep has actually come from other people's expectations and what other people have told them. And they then believe that because they see this person as obviously know what they're talking about. So what I would ban is, I would ban society. In that.
Do you see what I mean, everybody? That if Catherine had just come out and said, I would ban society, that you might be a little bit, I thought she was a lovely lady until that point.
So what I suppose, if it just came to my head, like, I'm going to ban society. So I would ban the unrealistic expectations from society. Maybe I ought to narrow it down a bit because that's some good bits of society. I think it is the unrealistic expectations that we are putting on parents. Say, for example, there seems to be this expectation that at the age of 6 months, baby should sleep through the night. And if they're not, you're obviously doing something wrong. Or baby should be sleeping 12 hours at night. Or baby should always nap in the same place. A nap on the go is a junk nap. And all these sort of expectations. And then expecting you as a parent to go like, oh gosh, yes, okay. Oh my gosh, they're doing this. I better not do this anymore. And I just don't want to, I just think society just, by having these unrealistic expectations on parents, it just makes us as parents question everything that we're doing. And it sort of doesn't allow us to trust our instinct, because when I work with parents, I say to them, well, what did your instinct tell you? And they're a bit like, oh, what? And they find it really hard to actually go with their gut and think, actually, yes, for my baby, I think that's the best option. It's like, go for it. Go for it. You know your baby far, far better than anyone else in this whole wide world. And for me, that's what I would ban. I would ban society from restricting parents from following their instincts and finding the way that suits them and their family, because there's no one way that suits everybody. And I think maybe as a society, we do need to be more tolerant. We probably need to listen more and not be judging, not judge a way that a family works. Because sometimes there are some ways families work and I'm like, oh, blimey, I couldn't live that way, but it works for them. I'm sure people look at me and my life and go, oh my word, how can they live like that? But it works for us. So that's
it. And I think it has to, decisions you make have to work for your family and have to work. Like I say, with newborn, I was routine. Every 4 hours, this is what happens. This is when the baby naps. And for a while, that's how we lived our lives. It didn't mean we didn't go out. It didn't mean we didn't do things. It just meant I would structure our days around that. And for some people, they wanted to be much more lackadaisical about it. No, we just want to, the baby can just fall asleep when it wants to fall asleep and things. And that's fine if it worked for them, but I knew that wouldn't work for me. I just knew I wanted to make sure that it was optimum time for naps. And also so that when they were upset, I kind of knew why. You weren't like, are they tired? Are they hungry? Do they need a nappy change? I kind of knew I was in the rhythm of, all right, okay, it's this time, right, they're cranky. I need to push them in the pram. They need to go to sleep. I might be in a shopping centre while I do it. I might be out a walk. I might be visiting family. It doesn't mean I was at home putting them down in their cot, but it meant that they got that sleep. Oh, it's this time. No, we can't go and do that right now because we need to go lunch. So shall we have lunch now? And then we'll go and do that thing. that's how and for some people that was like, oh, you're so regimented. But for me, that gave me my enjoyment. That gave me my joy. Like I said, I love the newborn days because of it, because I had that regimented thing. And I think with social media now, there's so much noise. Now, social media has brought some great things and some great knowledge and some great assets that you can go and find out, and much easier to go and talk about children and how things might be happening and get the support and get the help. But also it brings this comparisonitis. That if you're looking around your room and it's littered with all the baby paraphernalia, absolutely a mess, you've not had a shower yet, you're still in last night's jammies, the toast is still on the side and you're making lunch, there's coffees that you haven't drank, and then you look on Instagram and there's somebody who's got a baby the same age as yours and they're all dressed in beige and they're all dressed in cream and they're all out on a nice family walk and their house is pristine, and you think, I'm failing here badly because I'm not that person. Whereas ultimately, I wasn't that person before I had the child, so I'm not going to be that person now. But you know what I mean? I think it can just leave people feeling that comparisonitis. So I totally get it. And it does kill the joy.
Absolutely. And I always say to parents that, you know, you are going to compare your baby to other babies. It's just what we do. We do that. I said, but try to put things into perspective. And quite often people will tell you something about their baby they want you to hear and won't necessarily be telling you the complete truth. And especially when babies get older, into toddlerhood, people then are very fearful of saying their toddler's not sleeping very well because they kind of think they should be. And going back to social media, yes, I absolutely agree. I'm so thankful in a way that wasn't around, obviously, 24 years ago. That was something I had to contend with. And especially there's so much noise out there about sleep. I mean, everyone seems to be an expert on sleep and everything. So I think it's really important that when you do go on social media, that you take things with a pinch of salt and you kind of find your tribe and you find what resonates with you as a family, and you don't feel that you're kind of like drawn into a part of that. So I think I was saying was that I'm quite thankful that social media wasn't a thing like 5 years ago, because I think I would have been completely drawn into that, comparing my baby to other babies on the internet. Can you still hear me?
I think I've lost you again. I've got you back.
Right. Okay. I think my Wi-Fi's come back in again and it was making its mind what it was doing. Right. Okay. Let's go for it really quickly.
So social media drawn into competitive.
Yeah. So going back 24, 25 years, social media just wasn't really a thing. Thank the Lord. And so I wasn't drawn into any of that. And I think if I had been around, I think I definitely would have been that mum going, my gosh, look at that person on there. They're completely organised and they're completely organised. And as well we know, social media, people just pick out the best bits. Generally, I have to say, it's getting better, social media. People are being more honest on there. But there are still lots of like yummy mummies on there, especially these influencers, what they're showing. And also social media, there's so much noise out there around to do with sleep. And I say to parents, like, of course, do go on there because there's so much useful advice out there. But just be careful. And when you sort of decide to follow an account, just make sure it really resonates with you. And if at any point it makes you feel rubbish about being a mum or makes you feel rubbish about sleep, then just unfollow. You don't need that in your life. That's how I sort of see it. And even off social media, when you're talking to other mums, quite often they tell you all the good stuff, don't they, about their baby. It's not very often you get mums that will tell you the not so good stuff, unless it's a particularly close mum friend, the ones you want to know life. And also you find your babies get old and become toddlers. People then don't want to talk about sleep, that their toddlers aren't sleeping because they feel like they should be sleeping now and they're not. And I think there's definitely a lot of silence around that age group when people are struggling with sleep. They really don't want to tell people. And I think it's quite an isolating time for many parents during that phase.
Yeah, definitely. So if people do want to come and find you and want your help or want to know what resources you have, where can they find you?
Okay, so I have a website, which is the parentrock.com. If you go on there, I have loads of blogs. I tend to blog every week, and I have free resources you can download on there. And also I do tend to hang out on the old gram. So I head over to Instagram, and over there, I'm the Parent Rock over there as well. I try and post every day. You can check out my dodgy reels over there. And I'm having a little play around with the old TikTok. So you want to have a lot of fun laughing at me, get yourself over to TikTok. But I promise you there's no dodgy dancing.
Brilliant. You really should go and check out those resources, guys. It is definitely worth your while to do that. So before I let you go, I will be asking everybody on this podcast, what joy do you want to leave behind?
It's a hard one. What joy do I leave behind? Well, obviously the joy of sleep. I really hope that...
Is there any greater joy than sleep?
I really hope that... I have no plans to stop working anytime soon. I think with this particular bit, I can keep on working for a few more decades yet. But I really hope that I leave behind in my wake not just sleep, but also for parents to understand that they are the expert on their little one. I keep saying this, but I think it's so important that parents understand they are the expert on their babies or their toddlers or their children. They know them far, far better than anyone else in this world. So just lean into that, accept that, wear that hat, and just trust your gut. I have to say, having been a mum for over 24 years, I cannot think of a time when my gut let me down when it came to do with my children. So there were times I ignored my gut, but when times I listened to it and acted on it, I cannot think of a time when it failed me.
I love that. I love our gut. We do need to trust our guts in so many ways in our own self-belief. Thank you so much for today, Catherine. I have loved our chat. And as I said, I could talk to you forever about sleep. Don't think people would listen to it for hours and hours on end as much as we would enjoy it. Thank you so much for your time today. And I'll speak to you soon.
Thank you for having me. Bye.
I hope you've enjoyed this episode as much as I loved recording it. Catherine's wisdom and her holistic approach to life and work are such powerful reminders to stay grounded and trust the process, wherever you are on your journey. It's okay to lean into help, embrace flexibility and prioritise your own well-being. Whether you're parenting or pursuing your passion, joy comes when we release perfection and lean into what truly matters. If you're curious about Catherine's work or want to connect with her, you can find all of the details in the show notes. And don't forget, whilst you're there, to subscribe, share this episode with someone who might need it, and leave us a review. It helps more than you know and helps more people find the Joy Workshow. Throughout December, there is a special Joyfully Unhinged offer from me to you to join the Joy Work Members Club. 31 days free to take part and set yourself up in business for 2025. All you need to do is click the link in the show notes for more info. Until next time, keep chasing joy, enjoy the process, and remember, you've got this.